Hello and welcome to Cinema Sense, a show where I give my 2 cents on whether or not a movie may be worth your hard-earned cash at the box office. I'm your host and unqualified film critic, Bryce Cooke. Today we're going to be talking about the drama fantasy horror, Dr. Sleep. In this cinematic follow-up to the original 1980 film adaptation of Stephen King's The Shining, we the audience are introduced to Dan Torrance, 4 decades after his horrifying stay at the Overlook Hotel. In the midst of battling some inner demons, Dan discovers a young girl with powers similar, if not more powerful, than his own. However, Dan is not alone in his discovery, for the True Knot, a dark cult who feed off the powers of gifted children, have taken notice of the girl's shine as well. It'll be up to Dan to help defend his new young friend and end the evil reign of the True Knot for good. With the plot covered, it's time we talk about what I liked about this film. In my opinion, the casting of this film is one of its strongest elements. Ewan Mcgregor as Dan Torrance, Kylie Curran as the young Abra Stone, and last but not least, Rebecca Ferguson as the leader of the True Knot, Rose the Hat, were all spectacular choices. Kylie Curran, despite having very few film credits to her name, delivers a very strong performance as Abra that balanced that right amount of urge to use your powers, naivete for not being very experienced, and of course that subtle undertone of darkness that you might come to expect from a child with incredible powers. In counter to that, Rebecca Ferguson brings Rose the Hat to life in a way that oozes mystery and darkness, but not without throwing in just a satisfying hint of vulnerability that really ultimately sold the character to me and made Rose feel more real. And Ewan McGregor is, well, Ewan McGregor. So do I even need to say anything more?
Hello there.
Equal parts due to the cast portrayal of Stephen King's characters, the script, and the director's interpretation, there were genuinely some moments in this film that pushed me to the edge of my seat, got my heart pumping, and made me excited for more. However, for all the thrills I found in this movie, there were still a number of things that just did not land for me. So let's move on to the things I didn't like about this film. Given its connection to one of the most famous classic horror films, it's probably no surprise that Dr. Sleep makes a wide variety of attempts to trigger your nostalgia for The Shining. A number of scenes were recreated from this film's predecessor in order to use in flashbacks and other narrative devices in order to propel the story. But in some cases, scenes were ripped straight from The Shining and just kind of shoved into this movie for no real point except for to say, hey, remember that cool scene in The Shining? Gosh, what a great scene. While watching this movie, I got the sense that director Mike Flanagan was doing his best to recreate the slow, suspense-building pace that Stanley Kubrick delivered in The Shining, but for me, it just felt like the plot was being drug out much longer than it needed to be. Of course, to be fair, anything based on Stephen King's work means there is a lot of source material to work through, so I can't completely blame Flanagan or the screenplay for the pacing of this film entirely. So, having discussed the pros and cons of this movie, let's move on to my overall conclusion. Ultimately, I like this film. Despite its shortcomings, the cast portrayal of the characters really kept me invested, and even now, I can honestly say that I would love to know more about the True Knot, or even better, follow Abra as she grows up with powers to see what other threats she may take on. This film will not reach the level of fame of its predecessor, but it is still a very enjoyable experience, and I would easily recommend it to any moviegoer to catch it in theaters while it's still in its box office run. But that's just my 2 cents. Do you agree? Disagree? Let me know in the comments because I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed my review, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel to catch future episodes. It really helps out the channel and I appreciate your support. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of Cinema Sense.